Hey guys, this is Brandon at The Edge Pro. Today I just want to talk about the importance of where we have our magnet placed on the blades. With the wheel spinning underneath our blade, as it's spinning, it's pulling centrifugal force naturally backwards on the blade. And if our pressure doesn't stay in the right spot, that's going to end up messing up the hollow ground that's transferred from the plate into our blade. So I want to talk a little bit about that. First, we need to talk a little bit about the anatomy of this blade here. On the inside of the blade, the two parts that we sharpen are called the rails. And so our pressure is going to want to be up over that front rail. That's where all the cutting action happens. And so that's where we need our most consistent pressure. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our magnet, and generally speaking, it's going to be offset from the bottom to the top of the blade. We're going to be offset forward because we want that pressure to be down over the front of the rail. So that's going to change from blade to blade. We're going to talk about a few different blades and where our magnet placement or what kind of magnet we use may be for a specific blade or another. But that's a really important part of the sharpening. As our pressure comes backwards, we get really inconsistent hollow grounds. And so if you kind of picture like a half-ton pickup truck carrying a ton of rock in it, the front wheels are barely on the ground, it's kind of scooting all over the place, you have very little control. That's what we're running into. An identifier of that happening in your blades is if between that front rail and that second rail you see that your front rail is a lot taller and your second rail is a lot thinner, almost gone, and then you'll even start to see the back of the blade grinding off. And that would be a good identifier to you, whether you're an end user using the blades or the sharpener, that pressure might be back a little bit too far. That also starts to happen as the blades are starting to wear out. So don't rush to that conclusion every single time, but it can be a good hint to us that there can be some tweak in our techniques that we're doing. So ideally what we want to see is both of this front and this back rail being worn together over time. And so this is something that is a nice feature on clippers that are sharpening machines that have automatic arms, because if they're calibrated correctly, it's going to go ahead and take care of that for us. But in the case of us doing it by hand, we need to make sure that we are also calibrated correctly, or our arms are calibrated correctly. And so I'm going to walk through that here with a few specific blades as well, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So here I have a selection of a few different blades we're going to work on and see where that magnet needs to be set. This is a Barber 1.5. It's going to be similar to like your like the 7F from the grooming industry. A really common blade. Just has a little bit of tooth length to it. And again, this is the rails that I'm talking about, the front rail and the back rail. And we want our pressure to be coming down over the center of this front rail right here. And so a good rule of thumb that we can use to find that kind of center point, I'm going to move it over here against the wall so that we can see in the back there. You see that horizontal line kind of running right behind the blade back here. That is going to be a little bit of our reference point on where we're going to set our magnet. Let me get this set on there. Sorry for that loud magnet noise. But if you can see there, I have that magnet set just a little bit in front of that horizontal line. And so when I put my pressure on this blade, my pressure is going to be right on this corner of the magnet right there, all coming through my index finger. These two fingers are just to guide our magnet and to be able to pick it up off the plate and put it down on the plate. I have no pressure going downward on the magnet except through this finger. So we always hold the magnet with 3 fingers. Pressure's coming through our index finger. And if we follow that trajectory of our pressure through my index finger, through the front side of this magnet, we can see that I'm almost right on top of the center of that front rail. And that's where we need our pressure to be on all blades. So let's change it up. That's a pretty standard blade for us. Let's talk about another standard blade, a 40 blade. And don't make fun of my blades. These are the misfit blades, and I brought them out for this video, so be nice to them. This one's missing a tooth. You'll see some other ones that are missing teeth and that kind of thing. But this blade has a rail way up here on the front. All this dark stuff here is our rail. There's no horizontal line going through the back of the tooth. And so again, the same principle applies though. I want that pressure to be up over that front rail. So I'm not going to set my blade back here like this, because my pressure is going to be all the way at the back of the tooth here when I put my pressure down, which is going to be at the back of this front rail. and the further back I go, the worse that's going to be exaggerated. So I will actually be about halfway up that tooth with the magnet, and the back of this blade is floating back here, and I'm not worried about it teeter-tottering because I'm not putting pressure back here. All my pressure is up here on the corner of this angle, or the corner of this magnet. And so when our pressure's there, we flip it over and we look, and that pressure is coming right down over the front rail of this blade. I was talking about how the back of the blade starts to wear out. If we can see on this one, the back of the blade here has started to be grounded off, but this blade is very, very thin. So this would be a case where I wouldn't get too upset at my sharpener because I see the back coming in. Both of these rails are almost gone. This blade's lived a good long life, and it's what I'm more concerned about is that both of these rails are close in the same amount of life that's there. There will be a little bit of variation, but it's not someone who's out there ruining blades if there's a little bit of variation. But if you see this being really, really thick up here in the front and then almost gone here and then a bunch of ground off the back, you may have pause for thought and consideration on what's happening with your tools. Here we have a cutter. Again, same principle applies. I'm going to set that magnet to where all my pressure is coming down over this full front rail here, and it goes right, my pressure is coming right through the blade, transposed to this front rail. Trimmers, this magnet covers up the whole trimmer, so a lot of times I'll steer clear of this magnet and use this is just like a little, I think this was a hard drive magnet that we broke up into a couple pieces, and I'll use that. And so I'm going to hold it with these two fingers on the side, and then all of my pressure coming down through my index finger, again right over that front rail. And that's for our wall detailer blade. Same thing for the Andis outliner blade. I'm going to be somewhere in the area of that incline in the blade, wherever I need to be to make sure that my pressure is up over the front rail. I've only said that a couple times in this video, so I hope you're getting the picture of it. A couple blades where I do some different things. This one's going to be the cutter for the Arco blade. And so what this one has is, if these two hooks are here on the back of this blade, I'll usually just use this piece to hold on to it while I sharpen it. The problem is if we look, if I put my pressure back here and I hold on to it like this when I'm sharpening, my pressure is coming down all the way back here somewhere in the middle of the blade, and we need it up over the front rail. So what I'll do is I'll hold the back with these two fingers and then put my finger up over that front rail to add my pressure. That's if I'm going to use this this follower here as a handle for the blade. Otherwise, we can certainly I would use this small magnet again. Would work really great, either just as is like that, or take the cam follower off and you can just use the magnet on there. One of the more challenging blades that we run into is a blade that has a lot of comb length to it like this. Challenging for two reasons. One, it's kind of hard to find that front rail. If we look at it sideways here, if I draw a line through that front rail, that magnet needs to be somewhere where my finger is, so I'm going to say somewhere right about there. And that would be all fine and dandy if our magnet stayed there. But once we sharpen, what happens is our magnet starts to slide down that incline, and that's transferring our weight further and further to the back of the blade. So there's a couple ways to go about that. You could use like a larger magnet, and maybe if we went vertically over the blade versus horizontally, it may sit. It may even sit horizontally. It kind of takes a little bit of experimenting to do. The other thing that I like to do, I typically will still use the small magnet, but then I'll slide another one of these hard drive magnets up underneath it, or up behind it. Well, this one's not going to be long enough for me. But we'll slide it up behind it here as a stop. So now you have not so much magnet power that it starts to repel us from the wheel. The wheels are aluminum, so it's not going to have magnetism, but to the cabinet or to the motor, if we have too much magnet power, it can start to repel as we're trying to come down to the machine. but typically 1 or 2 of those will be enough to stop our magnet and hold it, so that now my pressure again is coming down through this finger right over the front rail. And it looks goofy and awkward, but that's what we do on these blades to help hold everything in place. So that's just a little bit talking about why do we need to make sure that that's important. I have a lot of guys that call in that are struggling with sharpening, and it's something as simple as where their blades are, where the magnet is set on their blades. So hopefully this is a helpful video to just kind of identify why we're doing what we're doing, as far as what magnet you use and where you put it and how all that works. I don't care about the methods as much as making sure that you understand why we need to do this and what is the importance of doing it. Are we doing it just because I made a YouTube video about it, or are we doing it because we understand what we're trying to accomplish in this process? So hopefully that answered some questions on the why and the where of placing your magnet. And appreciate it if you guys hit the thumbs up button if this has been helpful for you. Definitely please subscribe to our channel, and we'll make sure we're putting out more helpful content like this. Thank you, and have a good day.